Hello and welcome to the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by GeneralsJoes Reborn.com with me, Diagnostic80, and for today's episode, I will be joined by Justin GeneralsJoes Reborn Bell. In this regular video series, we round up all the week's news in the world of G.I. Joe. Full Force Weekly. I get more and more hammy with that every single episode. Right, so joining me for this week's roundup is Justin Bell. So let's start with even more G.I. Joe Operation Blackout news. Future expansion planned for Operation Blackout, and the developers start reaching out to fans. Yes, in an interview with Gaming Bolt, creative director and CEO of Iguana Bee, Daniel Winkler, explained that there would be expansions to the game in the future based on fan feedback. This is great for those of us enjoying the game at the moment. Justin, I mean, what do you think of the news regarding these expansions?
I love the idea. I mean, I'm enjoying it kind of in spite of what some folks might think are its limitations. You know, I'm still having a lot of fun with it. I finally, I think last week we talked about the sci-fi Arctic level and how much we loved it. I just finished that level yesterday, so
awesome.
I haven't yet started the next one, but I'm having fun with it. Like I said, I love the fact that
I was going to say, it's amazing that we seem to be at the same point in the game every time we speak to each other. I do exactly the same thing. I finish the level and I'm like, I'm not playing this for a couple of days. I really want to draw this out and make the most out of all of those like missions and characters and all that stuff. I'm like super excited about it. I understand, right, where people are coming from if they want a certain kind of game and they're not getting that necessarily. I think G.I. Joe just pulls me along though with it, like the characters and the all of that aspect of it has just done so much to kind of make me really enjoy this, genuinely enjoy this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, people might, you're shilling for the brand or whatever, but really it's not. I mean, at least from my perspective, I legitimately love G.I. Joe media tie-ins, and even if they're not like the Sigma 6 animated series, I can come here and say, it was garbage, but I watched it every week and I loved it every week because, I saw my characters coming to life on the screen. And Operation Blackout, you've got, the fact that I love those classified designs so much, and to see them, living and breathing on a television screen is just, it's awesome. And even though the game mechanics aren't perfect, I have a lot of fun with it. And I'm really excited if there's going to be expansion packs. I'm just kind of trying to work out in my head what that means. I mean, like these figures that haven't been released yet, they could start working in some of these future figures. They could have like a Cobra Island expansion, which has all sorts of those character designs in it. I mean, they're really kind of talking up this Cobra Island, rescue theme and tying that in through multiple different assortments. They could make a Cobra Island expansion where it's all about the Cobra Island related, operation, trying to rescue Roadblock and all that stuff. So, I mean, I think the sky is the limit for what they can do.
As long as it's not a Target exclusive, we should be all right.
Probably would be,
I had to say it. If I didn't say it, 400 people in the comments are probably going to say it anyway. But yeah, I agree on that one. I think any expansion would be wicked. I personally would love to see a Euro exclusive Tiger Force expansion pack.
Of course.
Obviously.
Of course you would.
No, but seriously, that's the beauty part of G.I. Joe, is the fact that you've got all of these different characters, all of these different locations. You can have. They did talk about I think we were reading it in the art book, that kind of discussion on they wanted to like do things like the Terradrome and stuff like that, but they decided against the Terradrome and decided to go for a more kind of generic kind of base in certain, and reuse it in certain locations. We could see the Terradrome at some point. We could see Cobra Island at some point. We could see the G.I. Joe HQ, not the flag, but the G.I. Joe HQ, like the original kind of big old gun at the front job. We could see things like that, and that for me is just like, just the more the merrier. Yeah. Keep it coming. Now, definitely. It's almost certainly going to be downloadable content. It's almost certainly going to be, a pay wall for it, and so on. So a paywall. You'll have to pay for it effectively. Is that something that you're happy to do, or do you think there should be some free add-ons?
It probably depends on what they're going to offer and sort of how often it happens. I mean, if it's $10, I'll happily play $10 to get, 3 or 4 levels of a G.I. Joe add-on. I think that's a pretty low price. It's kind of the cost of doing business these days. If they're talking about, weapon packs or costume packs, I would expect that to be significantly cheaper, if not kind of a free toss in. But, for a few extra levels and for an extra bit of story, I'd pay $10 for that. It's
absolutely,
I don't think it's not unreasonable for them to charge some kind of theme, and there's additional development work they have to do. And
absolutely,
I'm okay with it.
I'm certainly not saying that it should be free in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
And as a business, they're not going to just be making this stuff. There you go, have that for free. Enjoy that.
Right.
Enjoy all this. We'll just keep making it for you. That isn't a business, effectively. They need to make money off this thing. And that is, and we're the perfect people to give them that. To give them that
We're
money.
the perfect suckers. I mean, we bought the game twice, for crying out loud. And I think my PlayStation version is still sitting in the plastic behind me. I haven't even opened it yet, but
mate, I bought it
digital
and hard copy, and I just like the fact that I've got a sealed hard copy is like a nice little collector's item. I like that.
It's gonna be worth like $4.99 on clearance shelves probably in 2 years. 3 years.
But at the same time, I think the fact that it seems to have legs. It seems to have a lot of people enjoying it. With that said, do you think an online multiplayer would be a good addition? Because a lot of people have been talking about how they're a bit disappointed that isn't the case, and how it's almost like turned them off it completely. And I know there is a big audience for online multiplayer. Yeah. Personally, I'm more of a play it on my own campaign kind of guy, and I think that's why I enjoy it so much. But in terms of that, do you think that would be a good addition? Do you think that's a possible addition for something in the future?
I think so, and I think that'd be fun. I mean, like you, I'm much more of a kind of just play through the levels on a campaign mode just because I suck, and if I play online multiplayer, I just end up getting killed a lot. But I think, if that would appeal to a large audience, I can't argue with that. So, I think that's something they really should look towards.
Yeah, I failed to mention that in the list of reasons why I like playing alone. It's correct, because I absolutely suck at gaming. And anyone that watched, including Daniel Winkler, who we will be having an interview with, the CEO of Iguana Bee, he even mentioned in an email to me, he said that I saw your walkthrough, and by the way, this might help you in the future. And gave me a list of amazing evasive maneuvers that I didn't actually apply with Storm Shadow. So I just, one of the reasons I kept dying in that walkthrough. In any case, yes, we will be talking to Iguana Bee and Daniel Winkler at some point in the next few weeks. So keep it locked for all of your Operation Blackout news. Cool. Explosion. Okay, so this is cool. So Hasbro have been really busy in the promotional marketing department recently. So we had a number of kind of like a little bit rather late in the day, but kind of promotional materials for Retro Series, Wave 1 and 2, the vehicles, Classified Wave 2, and Cobra Island, the Target exclusive range. Now, a lot of people were saying it's a little bit late in the day, especially with Target. Why are they throwing out promotional materials when you can't even get them in stores? I get that a little bit. But on top of that, they also, Hasbro, I should say, released an amazing stop-motion video for Gigawatt, which is just the most incredible... I really was impressed watching that, thinking that's going to take some time doing, because they were, putting him in, the scenes from the movie and everything was, really... I really enjoyed that. I mean, what's your take on the Gigawatt one first?
Oh, I loved it. I thought they did a really cool job on it. I watched it with trepidation because those things can be hit or miss. I mean, you can do anybody can do stop motion, and not many people can do it well. But I think really they did a great job. I love the effects. They had kind of like the lightning special effects as it transformed, and that tie into the film at the end where it's kind of driving by the clock tower was really, really awesome. I think they did a fantastic job with it. I loved it.
It's a lot of fun, and I managed to get on that pre-order. Are you getting a Gigawatt by any chance?
I'm not. No, I was tempted, but when there's something I'm not 100% invested in, and it's a little bit difficult to get, I typically just kind of go, oh well, I guess I won't get that. But
I've fallen into a trap with the crossover series where it's like I'm kind of justifying it to myself, like, oh yeah, that's a really cool crossover. I'm gonna need that one, and I got Ecto 1, I got the Maverick crossover, the Top Gun crossover. So this one, I just thought, well, I've got to kind of keep going with this, haven't I now? So I'm trapped now.
You're on
Although
the hook.
I am, literally the hook that then hooks onto the wire as the lightning hits it, and then I turn into flames going in. Anyway, you get the idea. But anyway, yes. So that's been kind of what's been going on. Hasbro marketing has been pumping out the materials recently. Interesting that G.I. Joe got all those videos, but they were a bit late, weren't they? Kind of in the day. Obviously they're not the kind of video materials that you'd show as a commercial, but there are commercial aspects to them, aren't there?
There are, yeah. I mean, it was kind of odd because they were just sort of still press photos kind of rotated through a little bit. But yeah, I mean, they're showing some sort of production value to them. And like you said, they are getting them out there. It is kind of dubious as to the timing of it. I mean, especially with the Target, the Cobra Island stuff where, not that you could really buy that stuff when it was being actively released, but you really can't buy it now. I mean, that stuff is long gone. So I don't know.
But again, they're going to keep pumping them out by the looks of it, and we're going to keep kind of posting them when we get them. In any case, that's the marketing department done today. An image courtesy of Mason Monroe showed a branded G.I. Joe classified sticker set on the shelves in Walmart. Just another bit of merch to go on the hunt for. We haven't seen the stickers yet, but we'll post images as soon as we get them. Do you think we'll find new character images in there, Justin? Hey,
it's possible. That'd be pretty cool. Like if they've got package art for some of these newer characters done that they haven't shown yet. I don't know if we'll see it in the sticker set this early, but anything's possible. I'm just looking forward to some new art, maybe even of just the existing characters. So every piece of art that they've shown practically has been pretty incredible for the G.I. Joe Classified line. So any chance we get more of that art is a bonus.
Well, obviously we've had like individual artists doing certain box art treatments for a lot of this, but then we've also had this it's almost like a themed set of artwork, like generic artwork for the classified line that's shown up on like t-shirts, and it's shown up on like the sticker set and like the website as well. So you wave 1 and wave 2 kind of characters are getting that kind of standard issue treatment as well as this gorgeous custom work. And the standard issue stuff, I say standard issue as if that's an insult. It's gorgeous artwork.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. The stuff they have on the website, I think a lot of it was done by a guy named Scott Johnson is his name, and I apologize if I'm getting that name wrong, but he's been pretty active on Twitter, sort of sharing some of that information. And he's a commercial artist going back years and years and years, and the stuff he's doing for the website is absolutely mind-blowing. It's amazing. And it's incredible to me that you can get, it's GIJoe.com and you just look and there's all these little pictures here, but the artwork that they're doing for that is it's incredible. And the talent that it takes to put that stuff together it blows my mind.
Absolutely agree. And again, I just assume we'll get that wave 1 group of characters in this particular sticker set, which again is not a problem, is it? I mean, it's a very cool group of characters and a very great artwork to kind of show off too. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing anything in stores really. So far I have managed to find Roadblock. Obviously, he's been everywhere in Target somehow. But then the wave 2, I managed to see Cobra Commanders, 3 of them, and a Gung Ho. That's it in terms of what I've seen in stores around here. And I get out as much as I can. It's not all the time, but as much as I can. So if the slightest inclination that Walmart have got these, I'm going to be there and I'm going to grab a couple at least. That's the artwork. Now, let's move on to movie news this week, and there's been quite a lot of it, including a very recent story that popped up, which we'll get to in a second. But first off, in an interview with Den of Geek, Andrew Koji very briefly discussed his role as Storm Shadow and commented on the delay. He reinforced the fact that he wants to portray a more layered character, as he mentioned in that Inverse interview a few weeks ago. What do you think about this, Justin? Are you confident Andrew Koji can provide us with a great Storm Shadow performance?
I think he can. I think, elsewhere in that interview, he talked about the fact that he really doesn't want to be typecast. He knows there's a lot of, Asian actors who end up as martial artists, and he's not interested in falling into that trap, so to speak. So that kind of tells me that, there's something else about the Storm Shadow role that's attracting him to it beyond the fact that it's, an Asian martial artist. So I think he's looking for some of those meatier roles. And so I think that's an interesting twist to this, that he may have taken this role to kind of, express more of his acting chops than his fighting chops, which I think is a really good thing.
Yeah, totally. And surprising as well, too. The G.I. Joe franchise is not usually the one you go to for the acting chops, is it, in that sense?
Not so much.
More like the karate chops. But anyway, I'm really excited to see what he can actually come up with, because I was a fan of the Storm Shadow in the previous movies. I thought he was one of kind of like, you know, he in terms of like a presence and a character, I think he stood out pretty well in those, for what you could do in those kind of movies. I do have my, you know, concerns or like my issues with him in that he's just an evil guy. And obviously that's one of the things that I think Andrew Koji's more interested in portraying, is the fact that Storm Shadow isn't just a bad guy. He originally joined Cobra to find out the killer of the Hard Master. Like, it was nothing to do with, you know, being a bad guy. He did some bad things along the way, and I think Larry was retconning as much as he could. He was trying to, you know, like the brainwashing aspect and all that kind of stuff. He was trying to do a lot of that to make sure that deep down you know that Storm Shadow isn't a bad person. You know, flawed, yes, but not a bad person. And I think he did really well in the comics to do that, didn't he?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and you know, I think they maybe lean a little bit too hard on the brainwashing in the comics sometimes, but I think that's what made Storm Shadow so interesting, is that he was a flawed character. He did do bad things kind of in his quest for justice, but that almost makes his redemption arc mean more. You know, the fact that he did get into such a dark place, but he was able to get himself out of that. And I think, you know, if you lean too much on the brainwashing stuff, you kind of cheapen that redemption arc a little bit. So I think I kind of like the fact that he was, you know, kind of, you know, getting dragged in, you know, into dark places, but he recognized that and was able to fix that about himself and sort of come out of that. And I think that's a pretty cool character twist. And I know Larry's reasons for that were mostly that, you know, there was only one Asian character and he was a bad guy, and understandably, you know, Larry wanted to fight back against that stereotype, which I think is admirable. And he managed to do it in a really great way and created a timeless character with it. So, I mean, it's really pretty intriguing, the whole history of Storm Shadow. And you forget sometimes, you know, it's been so long since, you know, issue 21 and those kind of early G.I. Joe issues, and this whole thing transpired, that people don't realize kind of what a landmark, you know, stretch of comic books that was back in the day. You know, it was one of the most, I think it sold more copies than Spider-Man in the 80s, for crying out loud. I mean, that was one of the best-selling comics of its day. And a lot of that was because of the way Larry wrote some of those key characters like Storm Shadow and Destro and Zartan, to kind of make them villains that had good sides and you know, weren't afraid to go to the bad place if they needed to, but were also redeeming themselves in the end.
And I know, I totally agree with that. And I think comic is probably where he's portrayed the best as a character, Storm Shadow. Like, fun in the Sunbow kind of era as well, but again, just a bad guy. And I can definitely see, you know, where Larry was coming from there to 100%. So, okay, well, this is really interesting as well. Let's move on, and big explosion. This is crazy cool. So, in related movie news, and a story that popped up like last night, and according to prolific tipster and industry insider Daniel Richtman, who we've actually discussed before, Ryan Reynolds is being eyed up by Paramount Pictures for the lead role as Matt Tracker in their Mask movie currently in development. All of those words just don't make any sense to me. What do you think about this story, Justin? I mean, do you fancy Ryan Reynolds for the role, or do you see him better suited somewhere else?
I mean, Ryan Reynolds is awesome. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing him in almost any role. I mean, obviously he's become synonymous with Deadpool most recently, but I mean, I you know, when I saw that news pop up, I tried to kind of think back to what Matt Tracker's sort of personality was, and obviously he doesn't, you know, the whole wisecracking thing, that wasn't really Matt Tracker, but that doesn't mean, I mean, he was, you know, generic blonde leader, good guy. You know, I mean, I don't see any problem with kind of adding some more depth of character to him. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. He's a big name. I think it'd be a really cool area for him to work in. You know, it would make it even more exciting to see if Mask kind of crossed over with Transformers and or G.I. Joe with some of these big names attached.
There was a story a couple of weeks back from, I think, Daniel Richtman again on his Patreon page, saying that Mask could debut in the G.I. Joe Transformers crossover, which is also being developed as well. So it's like, there's a lot going on here in terms of Mask, and it's definitely getting a bit more traction than, you know, before it was like the one story about F. Gary Gray being hired on to direct. Then it was Chris Bremner being hired on as writer. Then it was about merging it with G.I. Joe and Transformers and kind of coming back to that combined universe that they were talked about many years ago. And now we're in this kind of point where they're looking at actual roles. You know, Paramount are considering these people for certain roles. Now, I agree with what you said about Matt Tracker. The dude was vanilla originally. Like straight-laced, very calm, very collected, never kind of lost his cool, just a general leader, and nothing really super crazy about the guy. There wasn't a lot of depth there, and I know a lot of Mask fans are going to have a go at me for saying that, but I think a lot of the depth came from other characters around him. Like it was almost like, you had, Brad Turner was the kind of smooth operator with, the kind of like shades and the motorbike and everything, and everyone wanted to be Brad. And then you had like, I'm trying to think of the other guys, Dusty and Buddy and Alex, the kind of the bald-headed kind of like serious Alex kind of science guy, and Bruce Sato, who was like always giving out the kind of like the haikus and the knowledge and all that kind of that jazz, and the riddles, I should say. And so you had that's what I think you had. And with Ryan Reynolds, I think he'd play a much better Brad Turner personally. But I think I understand where Paramount are coming from. Putting someone like Ryan Reynolds as a lead role character in this film would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? Definitely.
And I don't. And like you said, the Mask fans are going to get all over us about it. But, in the grand scheme of things, if they change Matt Tracker's character, is it going to derail the whole franchise or anything? I mean, Matt Tracker is who Matt Tracker is. And, obviously it's been a while since I've seen the cartoons or read the comics. So I don't have a great feel for what his personality was back then. But ultimately, if they tweak it a little bit to match Ryan Reynolds' sort of just tweak
aesthetic,
it a little bit, I think that's okay. Yeah, tweak it.
No, totally agree, mate. And let's get into some toy news now. With that whole Snake Eyes figure kind of mystery. So we can finally put the Snake Eyes movie design rumor to bed now. ThreeZero officially revealed their Snake Eyes figure, and it is not the movie design. The ThreeZero 1/6 scale 12-inch Fig Zero figure was shown off at Wonder Festival in Shanghai a few weeks ago, and now we have official confirmation via ThreeZero's social pages. He will be available for pre-order at 30hk.com. Link will be in the description on October 25th at 9 a.m. HKT time, or October 24th for us at 9 p.m. on the eastern coast of the United States. The final products may vary from promotional images. Justin, were you disappointed that this didn't turn out to be the movie design, or are you just happy to see this figure finally officially revealed?
Well, the figure looks absolutely amazing. I mean, I think it's spectacular. I would have loved to have seen it in the movie, but no, I mean, I'm not. I guess I'll have to hold back until I see what the actual movie design is before I say whether or not I'm disappointed this one didn't make it in, because if the movie design looks like, Rise of Cobra, then yes, I'm very disappointed. But if they're managed to do a halfway decent Snake Eyes, then, not a big deal. But the figure is just spectacular. I'm kind of having a little bit of an inner conflict right now, but whether or not I want to try to pre-order it or not. I don't know how hard it is how much of a race against time it is to pre-order these
probably like any other online experience we've had this year, where it sells out in seconds. But a couple of things I want to mention here is that one, I did like you mentioned Rise of Cobra. I remember when the Rise of Cobra Snake Eyes, that was the first thing they revealed in that movie. It was like an image of Ray Park in his Snake Eyes gear, and I remember seeing that and going, "Oh, that is amazing!" It was my banner photo. It was my profile picture for ages. I was so excited, even like the design but I think over time it didn't age well.
No, it didn't. I mean, you look at it now and he's basically wearing kind of black tights, and of course there's the whole lip situation, which we can see his lips through his mask and stuff. And I agree. I mean, I think part of it to me, at least when I first saw that image, was live action Snake Eyes, Hollywood Snake Eyes. I mean, it was the first time you saw Snake Eyes in some sort of Hollywood aesthetic, and immediately you're like, oh my God, my childhood is coming to life. So you do you love it for that. And, I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people did, but you're right. It's got some weird kind of sculpted musculature and it just doesn't,
I'd love to see a bazooka in that design, just wearing his jersey like this, but have a fake gut, built on. Anyway, but
be like fat bastard from the Austin Power movies. No matter where he moves, his stomach will just go.
Oh my God, that needs to be. That's the mashup we need. We need a fat bastard G.I. Joe mashup right there. So I mean, again, I'm the same as you. I think I'm gonna have to wait to see the movie design before I make a decision on that. But I'm not disappointed it's not the movie design. I'm looking at that and thinking that's a very nice figure on its own merits. But I expect something different anyway in the movie. I expect something Origin-like, so maybe not even something we recognize 100%. You know, like I imagine he'll have some kind of visor. Right. There'll be elements on him that I think, you know, will be recognizable, but I think they'll go in a slightly different direction personally. And I don't mean like completely Probably. Just the opposite, but I don't think it's going to be that kind of style that we saw ThreeZero do. In any case, I mean, it's out. It's going to be coming out, available for pre-order on technically the October 25th in Hong Kong, but 24th for us at 9 p.m. Eastern. So, moving on. This one was a weird kind of comment that just popped up on a video somewhere. So we posed the question, we put it out there. Did the Sarge just say Hasbro? So during a Facebook Live event signing for 80s Wrestling Con, the Sarge said that he would be meeting with Ben at Hasbro on Thursday, just gone, and it had quite a few eyebrows raising. A lot of people jumped to the conclusion that he'll be getting a Hasbro figure, but I mean, it could be anything at this stage. And I mean, what do you make of this, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it could be anything. I mean, a conversation with somebody who's in global marketing at Hasbro. I mean, obviously, the first place you go is, are they trying to build a bridge with Sergeant Slaughter and the G.I. Joe line? That doesn't mean that they're going to announce Sergeant Slaughter figure in February at Toy Fair or anything like that, or whenever Toy Fair is going to be next year. I mean, this could be the first conversation in a long line of them, and I'm sure lawyers would have to get involved. And nobody really knows what sort of agreement he's got with Valaverse for the Action Force figure. I mean, whether there's any exclusivity there or not. So who knows what might happen. But the fact that conversations are happening, I think, is interesting, and it is newsworthy because it does show that Hasbro is reaching out and trying to put those pieces together and try to make something work so that they can do a figure. I think it's interesting because while Mattel obviously does all their WWE figures, and while they would probably not be quite as concerned about a company like Valaverse, doing a figure for an Action Force line is pretty low profile. I would think an arch rival like Hasbro might get their hackles raised a little bit. So I guess it probably depends on what the contract is with Mattel, what the contract is with the WWE, what the contract is with Valaverse. And, but again, the fact that he's having that conversation, I think is a really cool thing. And I'm really interested to kind of see what transpires from it.
He could be in talks to do some sort of voice acting for something. It could be anything. It could even be, if they do a figure to not kind of, I suppose, like cross into the 6-inch department kind of area where Bobby's doing the Action Force figures. It might be the case that they use him for retro line, which is something else that that could be quite interesting to see him again at that scale, but a little bit easier to acquire rather than an SDCC exclusive.
Exactly. Yeah, I know a lot of people were kind of annoyed that was the only way to get Sergeant Slaughter in the modern era was through that, through SDCC. So this could be an opportunity for them to do something new with that.
Or maybe we're just getting a new Sergeant Smasher repaint. Well, so I should also mention Sergeant Slammer, considering we are a Action Force related origin ourselves. He even mentioned that on another video where he talked about a second figure that's coming out for Valaverse. He also mentioned that he was talking through how in the UK he wasn't called Sergeant Slaughter, he was called Sergeant Slammer. So like even he's picked up on that now. Because when I spoke to him about it the first time at Joe Fest, I'm not sure he was 100% aware of that information. I don't think he was fully aware that he'd been changed in the UK. I may be wrong. That was the impression I got when I spoke to him about it. But lovely dude, really nice guy, and all the luck to him. And also that the figure that's coming out for Valaverse, it's a beauty, and it's really is we have to admit that is probably the best Sergeant Slaughter figure we've had since the blooming SDCC figure, which was so long ago. For sure. I think, and it's cool. And I mean, no matter what Hasbro does, I mean, it's interesting that there will be a 6-inch format Slaughter that will kind of work with your classified Joes. And if they're doing a second version of them at some point, it'll be interesting to see kind of what that version looks like. But yeah, I mean, regardless, Sarge in the comics anyway, Sarge never really, he kind of appeared in like his Triple T uniform, I guess, but he also appeared in very more,
kind of just military jacket kind of look,
Yeah,
which is kind of how he looks in the Action Force version. So there's no reason why that one can't work with your G.I. Joe classified figures anyway, regardless of what Hasbro's doing.
Yeah. Anyway, we're kind of getting spoiled as collectors at the moment, to a degree. If you can find the figures, you're being spoiled.
I know, no kidding.
Or if you can buy them online, you're being spoiled. But in any case, that's kind of the end of the news, as it were, today. Explosion. That leads us into shout-outs. Now, I put you on the spot last time, Justin, so I'm going to read out all of my shout-outs, and by the end of that, if you don't have any still, it's not a problem. We just understand that you don't care about anybody. That's fine. Just kidding.
Man, you're killing me here.
I'm killing you every time. So big shout-out to Wordburglar as he gets ever closer to releasing his Welcome to Cobra Island album on vinyl. So excited for that. The already successful funded project still has 5 days remaining, so if you want a copy, you better get involved now. Link in the description. Only 4 days left as well on the TECCOTOYS Age of Mecha Kickstarter. We interviewed the creator Mikkel Herm earlier in the week, and the project even got a spotlight on Adam Savage's channel. So good luck, Mikkel. We hope you make it. Again, link in the description. I don't finish any words anymore, by the way. We've also been getting loads of images from people spotting tons of retro product at Walmart. So it looks like they're getting more retro series restocks, basically. We've had, like I said, a number of people send us images like these. If you are after figures and vehicles in the retro range, then keep looking, because they do seem to be flooding in again. And I need to find that place with all those HISS tanks, because I need a HISS tank. And our very own Brian Hickey is working on an incredible toy dio photography book dedicated to vintage Action Man with Ken Costello and John J. Lennon, no relation to Paddy or the other John Lennon. So check out these amazing images we've got flashing up. It looks gorgeous. Great work on that, Brian. Can't wait to see that book. And my last shout out is for 80s Tees for delivering my Bazooka Jers, which I know that I'm sure Justin appreciates me wearing as a Chicago Bears fan, wearing a team jersey who we actually beat the only time we won a Super Bowl is kind of a little bit weird, isn't it?
I'm okay with it. You know, even though it was the Patriots that you humiliated in that Super Bowl, yeah, it's all right.
It was a humiliation, yeah, you're right there. I'm kidding.
It was. The 6 we've won since then kind of washes that out of my mouth a little bit.
Okay, you win NFL banter off. Justin, any shout-outs?
I live in my basement here by myself. I don't have, well, I mean, my family's upstairs, but I don't really have any shout-outs. I'm terrible.
That's not a problem.
I'll have some shout-outs next week.
Okay, that's great. Everyone tune in for Justin's shout-outs. If you can guess what his shout-outs are, you'll win a prize. Just kidding, you won't. That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for watching the Full Force Weekly. Massive thank you to my awesome co-host Justin Bell. See you next time, and as always, ready, Justin? 1, 2, 3. Full Force!
That was awful.
Competition time. Yes, we've got one more Wave 2 G.I. Joe Classified Cobra Commander to give away, and you can thank the network for this one. If you want him, then all you have to do is comment wherever you see this video with your favourite toy version of Cobra's Ruthless Despot. We will announce the winner on next week's show, so keep it locked. Good luck, and as always, full force! Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback or questions. We have also started a Patreon page, so if you want to see your name up in lights on these videos or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce podcast or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.